Greetings, one and all. It is me again, G minus. And today I wasn't. It didn't even occur to me to do this one, but I saw the Facebook feeds today. Robert Gordon passed away, which that was an unexpected one, I guess. So, and I have met Robert Gordon, so this is kind of a tribute and a my Robert Gordon story. So it's a tough one to know what to say about him musically for me. One of the first rockabilly records I ever bought was this. I mean, I probably bought this in 1978. The first, I got into buying rockabilly the latter part of 78. Before that, I was just kind of a young kid who liked 50s and 60s music. And it's like, it's The Fall and Endless Sleep. And it was the first time I ever heard The Fall, which is now one of my favorite records by Sanford Clarke, you know. And I was, it's with Link Ray. I was kind of on the fence with it when I heard it. It was too heavy sounding for me. You know, Link Ray, obviously one of the best, but at this period it was very, very heavy. And I was kind of like, nah, it looks cool, but I was never that enamored with it, I've got to be honest. And then bought that one when it came out. And again, it's good, but it was never really for me. I wasn't that crazy about it. This is not the best tribute, is it? And that's kind of the classic. Again with Link Ray, I kind of liked him, but the music, I thought his voice was amazing. He had an incredibly good voice. Oh, there's a flyer there, which I didn't know I had, which might be useful because it can add some actual information to time and event. So I liked Robert Gordon, but I wasn't a huge fan of his music. I know that sounds like a weird thing to say. I thought he had an incredibly good voice. He did a version of T-Bone Burnett's Driving Wheel, which was awesome. I just don't think he ever really got the right backing to do the album he could have done. I mean, when he came out at the time in the 70s, he was loved by many. I mean, his cover version of Fire by Springsteen had Springsteen on it. So it's like, he was definitely a big deal at the time, and I mean, he looked the part. I mean, let's face it. I mean, look at that. That is the epitome of how you'd want a rockabilly singer to look. And I met him, and the reason that I was kind of a fan of him at the time, and have always kind of liked him for one reason, is the movie The Loveless. I mean, that came out on videotape, and I went into a video store. This is, again, early 80s. And the guy said, "Oh, I got a movie you will like. It's like a kind of a rock and roll movie." And I rented that movie out and pirated myself a copy because I had two video players. Watched it. I mean, I still know the words to that movie, undoubtedly. That was the movie that introduced Willem Dafoe to the world as well. So I loved Robert Gordon in that. I thought he was the coolest, and I always kind of liked him. But like I say, his music, although the soundtrack to The Loveless was pretty awesome, I've got to say that version of So Young was the first one I heard, his cover version of Clyde Stacey. And I get to the meat of when we met him. So myself and Jim Jeffries found out, Jim Jeffries being the guitarist in my band at the time, and one of my best friends, we heard that there was this kind of weird, for some reason he was playing at, where is this? Hard Liquors, Friday, June the 19th. I think this was in Portsmouth. It doesn't say apparently. Anyway, we went to see him, and the crowd was like 20 people, if that. It was a small club. It was a gig that was barely advertised. And Jim called me. He said, "Robert Gordon's playing." And this was local to us, you know. I'm like, no way. So we went down there. And we were thrilled to see the actor from The Loveless. And he played a good set. And Jim got up on stage and played guitar with him. We had a really good time, but he was really reluctant to meet the crowd. He was in a noticeably bad mood. He stopped several of the songs. They would start and he'd like stop because they weren't playing properly. He'd kind of berate the band. And he was clearly in a very bad mood. And he walked off stage and he did not want to come out. And we asked like couple of members of the band, you know, couldn't he just sign a couple of things? And in the end, he came out very reluctantly. And he was pleasant and he was friendly and he signed our stuff and he was okay. But I remember thinking there's a troubled individual there. There was definitely something going on. And I'm not sure what the circumstances of his death were. I've seen lots of tributes. But I kept the records. And he was an actor that I enjoyed. I can't say I personally can pick any favourite tracks, apart from his version of Driving Wheel and his version of Fire, maybe. So I don't wish this to be a bad tribute, but it is what it is. R.I.P. Robert Gordon, you were a huge part of the scene, and I very much enjoyed the time I met you briefly, and we will always have the Loveless. I don't feel I did the best tribute to Robert there, but I give him a thumbs up. I give him 2 thumbs up for being around at the right time and the right place and looking like a cool cat.